Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Looks like David and Nicole made it onto the right side here.
Yeah,
Cool.
we're on the right stage.
You are on the
Yeah.
right stage. Yes, you are there. So we're going to give everyone just a few minutes to join. And while we wait, we're going to do a little bit of a quick icebreaker here. So David and Nicole, if you could tell me what's the best day y'all had recently. Nicole, you want to go ahead and go first?
Yeah, sure. So best day. I mean, I'm a pretty grateful person. So generally, a question like that is like, oh, okay, what's the best day? Is generally can be a little bit of a challenge to answer, I guess. But like, look, at the end of the day, we had a great vacation to Hawaii a couple of weeks back.
Awesome.
Me and the family. It was our first vacation since the whole COVID thing began back in 2019 or 2020. And so, I have to say that maybe not the best day, but best week, week and a half that we were there, for sure.
Which island did you guys go to?
We went to Oahu. So we've got a 5-year-old. And so while my wife and I love to like hike, and we actually are huge fans of Kauai, where there's a lot of like nature stuff to do, but we have a 5-year-old who needs constant entertainment and a lot of variety in terms of different things to do. And so Oahu seemed like the best bet there.
Nice. Yeah, Oahu is beautiful. Kauai is really nice, but not as appropriate, maybe, like as you said, for a 5-year-old. So that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back there. Got a lot of family in Hawaii. I'm a big fan.
Nice.
Yeah. And David, how about your best day recently?
Oh gosh, well, it's always hard. We had a family vacation in Hawaii at the end of last year. We were in Maui. And that was great. And just it was unseasonably rainy, but almost every day was really, really good. And then fast forward kind of like from tropics to the opposite. Late February, we had a ski trip up in Tahoe, right? We're in the Bay Area.
Nice.
So it's only about 4 hours drive roughly. And we had fresh snow and, deep base and skied our hearts out. That was great.
Awesome. I was only able to go snowboarding once this season, so still craving some more of that action out there myself. My best day was probably yesterday. Actually, I took my mom and my aunt to an interactive Frida Kahlo exhibit in Los Angeles. So that was really nice. I have been a fan of Frida Kahlo's for a long time, but didn't realize just how much artwork she produced. So it was really nice to see that in such a huge capacity. I recommend it to anyone out there.
We're a fan in this house too.
Nice.
Totally.
Yeah, it's hard not to be. Yeah, and it's really interesting to learn. She did a lot of her self-portraits with just a really tiny hand mirror. I had no idea, like just really the size of your fist. So even more impressed.
That's awesome. Oh, and in case anybody from my family watches this webinar, the best day of my life was the day I met my wife and the day I had my child.
Obviously.
Yes.
Obviously, yeah. Awesome.
Well, that was, skiing. My youngest took to skiing. We took a friend, so, a couple tweens. And the prior time I had my youngest skiing, it just was not happening. That was quite a few years ago. But by, a few hours of lessons, and by the end, the two of them were just off on the mountain on their own, and they just, up the lift, down the hill, up the lift, down the hill, up the lift, down the hill. And she's like, when can we go skiing again?
That's awesome.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to talk about weeding out your weakest leads, a topic that a lot of people definitely are interested to learn about, save you some time and some resources. So we have some awesome panelists today with David and Nicole. We're super excited about the amazing content and takeaways you'll get out of this event. So a quick intro today too about MSP. So today's event is brought to you by the team at Modern Sales Pros. For those of you not familiar, Modern Sales Pros is the world's largest and highest quality community for those in sales management, sales leadership, sales and revenue operations, and sales enablement, aka our Modern Sales Pros. Our mission is to create an environment for our members to answer questions they'd struggle to solve on their own and help them see around corners they may not know about. So we do that through live sessions like this one today, an online forum, our quarterly summits, and we're starting to get back into in-person events. So if you're not already a part of MSP, you'll be invited to join after the event, and hopefully we'll see y'all at some of our in-person events too. But enough about MSP. Today's session wouldn't be possible without the sponsorship from our wonderful team at BuzzBoard. So now I'm going to hand it off to David to say a few quick words about BuzzBoard. David?
Yeah, so we have what we think is the largest, most comprehensive database on small to mid-sized businesses for folks that target that space. And we have the firmographic, the technographic data that folks would expect, but we also have a really comprehensive signal set based on their digital footprint. And we call that digiographics. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, about the role of those extended signal set and what we can do with that. In broad terms, not specific to BuzzBoard, but in broad terms.
Awesome. Cool. Super excited to have you as a sponsor today, and we're excited to dive in. But first, let's go over some housekeeping notes. So first of all, this event is being recorded. You'll be able to access this recording and the key takeaways on the previous events page on the MSP website. Second, if you have any questions for our panelists, please use the Q&A function, and we'll be sure to get to them during the event. We like to make this as interactive as possible, so please don't be shy. Go ahead and ask your questions. And now let's introduce our panelists. Nipul will be our moderator today. I'll pass it to you to introduce yourself, and I'll see y'all at the end.
Thanks, Roxy.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks, Roxy. Hey, everyone. Super excited to be here. My name is Nipul Choksi. I run marketing here at Atrium. And this is a great topic that's near and dear to my heart. As a fellow marketing nerd, David, always a fan about how data can help sales and marketing teams be better when it comes to qualifying leads, generating pipeline, and converting revenue. And so super excited about that. So before we kind of dive into the agenda, would love it, David, if you just kind of take a few minutes to kind of introduce yourself and give the audience a little bit of a preview of what you're going to be talking about.
Sure. So I head up the team, the marketing team at BuzzBoard. Come through, those of you out there in demand gen and marketing ops, I've come through that. They often say, marketing leaders are like they're product marketers, they're comms people, they're demand gen folks. I'm squarely in the demand gen camp. So hopefully I'm out there, reaching out to my peeps in the audience out there. Been there, done it, worked with a variety of the marketing automation platforms, worked with a variety of data sources. How do we integrate that? How do we pull in lead scoring? How do we pull in account scoring? How do we prioritize? How do we support sales look, for most companies, it's about how do we close the most deals the fastest. So that's what I hope I'll contribute to the discussion today.
Awesome. Yeah, and we've got a jam-packed agenda here. And so basically, I know you've got some great slide content here that I'll let you kind of walk through here, just kind of talking about how data can enable you to be better when it comes to being account first. And I'll just kind of chime in as questions come in, areas where, the audience might need a little bit more explanation or dive deeper. So I'll let you take it away, David.
Great, thanks. So 3 quick bullets, high level, why account first. So lots of you are doing this already, and folks that are probably not on here. If you're not already doing this, that's probably why you're here. So obviously, ABM has been around for a while, but I think lots of folks are still learning how to do it. It's still sort of nascent and maturing. So we'll talk about that. And if you're not doing account first, you're likely doing kind of like a brute force. How do I bulk up my CRM with as many leader contact records and, blasting with email constantly and phone calls constantly. So we'll talk about, good and bad about that. We'll talk about, okay, David, you convinced me, account first, great. So now how do I evaluate? Do I have the right accounts, or are they prioritized? Are they ranked? Are they scored? Are they segmented? So we'll talk about that. And then we can get a little bit specific. We all know lead scoring, right? That's been around for a long time. Not everybody is scoring accounts. We'll talk about how you can do that, how you can use all those different sorts of things, firmographics, technographics, digital signals, to score accounts and prioritize. And again, remember, the goal is, how do we close the mostest deals the fastest? If I can, butcher the words that way, but that's really what it comes down to. How do we close more deals faster? So scoring accounts, prioritizing segment, that's all contributory to closing more deals faster. So let's see, with that, dive in. It takes a second. Okay, so why is account first more productive? Does everybody here, do they really have a good handle on their ICP at a level beyond revenue, employee size, and what technology do they use? Lots of folks still don't have a good handle on their ICP. And then I'm just going to caveat with the asterisks down here. Larger companies, you might have one ICP per line of business, or one per product, or per segment. But or if you're a smaller company, you got one product, one offering, it's only one ICP. But yes, you can figure out an ICP for multiple offerings if you need to. So if you take an account first approach, first you develop a good idea of who's my ideal customer. You develop an ICP, and then you look for more accounts who look just like that. And then with things like scoring, you can say, company A looks like my ICP to 100 points. Company B looks like 98 points. Now I can go after company A first and company B second. We'll dive into that. We'll dive into that a bit later. So why do that? I'm going to allocate more resources to companies that are closer fit, and I'm going to allocate more urgency. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Once you can prioritize your account segment against your ICP, allocate resources accordingly in your ABM program, or wherever else you're doing, right? Another important thing that often gets lost is, where am I spending time on accounts that just are not my ICP, right? We care about propensity to buy, absolutely. What about propensity not to buy? Anytime we have an account that meets these criteria, we never see them close, right? Or they take forever. So either don't waste time on that. And we've done this analysis for lots of customers. You're wasting a lot of time on these accounts, don't bother. The data shows that they don't close. So who do I put resources on, and who do I not put resources on? Because we're wasting resources chasing folks who are never going to close. So we'll get to the next one here. There we go. Okay, so often what happens, and Nipul, I don't know, over time, I've been at a lot of shops where nobody pays much attention. They think Salesforce, nobody pays much attention to the account object. It's all about leads.
I don't know what you're talking about, David. Our Salesforce is perfectly clean.
Of course it is. Of course it is. So a lot of times what people do, really focus on, leads. Or, in Salesforce, you have the lead object, you have the contact object, and, we have contacts or persons. So really just focused on the people, right? I need a name, a phone number, an email, and I'm good to go. So if you're trying to get a handle on your total addressable market, and many folks out there in the audience, I think every now and then, you have some executive or, senior manager coming to you like, help me build a TAM. We need to know what our market size is. If you're doing that based only on contact level data instead of account data, the way you can think about it is that contact data, that's the yellow-orange slice in the pie there. So we just count quickly. It should be 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. If the number of accounts that you have in your TAM is really 15, but you only have contact data for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for 7, you're basically cutting your TAM in half, right? I'm going to go in my CRM, I'm going to look at all the contacts that I have, because I never look at that account object. And you're building a view of your total addressable market that's about half of what it should be. Now we can quibble, okay, some shops it's 75% or 80%, it's not as bad as half. But for the point of illustration, if you're only looking at who are the people I know to talk to, and you're trying to build a real solid picture of who your total market is and who's in it, if you're looking just at contacts, you're probably dropping some folks out because there's probably a bunch of accounts that you should be targeting, and you're not counting them just because you don't have a name, a phone number, and a job title and an email if you want to speak to. In our experience, we've talked to people where like as many as 40% of accounts in their CRM are actually a good fit, but because you don't have any sort of leads or contacts for them, you're not counting them. And lead scoring, and great. It was nothing short of sorcery when it was introduced. Still has value, but it's not enough to just focus on lead scoring. The next slide, I think, won't build on this platform, so we kind of end up with both of these on one where I normally build it left to right. But if you follow the traditional TAM based on contacts, I'm going to go into my CRM and I'm going to look at all the leads and contact records, and I'm going to figure out how many accounts that represents, and I'm going to figure out the size of the TAM. If you go that approach and you're only counting 50, 60, 70, 80% of your possible accounts, you end up with a revenue opportunity, or a TAM, see here on the left, that's actually smaller than if you started with an account-based approach, which is I have a really good sense of my ideal customer profile, and I'm going to go out, and whether or not they're in my CRM in this moment, I'm going to go out, I'm going to identify and find all accounts, and I'm going to add accounts to my CRM first. And that's how I'm going to look at my TAM. And then I'm going to report up to management a much more accurate number, a much more grounded number. And your overall revenue opportunity, as represented in the lower right, will be bigger, right? Because you're not just looking at who do I already know who to talk to. So that's the notion here. I think as we go forward, it'll become a bit more clear.
So that's actually a really good,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love the framework here, because this is like, it reflects two realities, right? One is like, if you're in B2B sales and marketing, you're selling to people, but obviously those people work at companies, right? And so like, it's the company that actually ultimately is going to make the buying decision, and the people are just kind of proxies there. So that's number one. Number two, also from a sales standpoint, right? I think this more aligns with the way salespeople think about things in terms of closing deals at accounts, not necessarily just contacts, right? So I love the framework in terms of like how it really reflects the realities of selling and marketing in B2B today.
Absolutely. And if you are implementing account-based marketing programs, then you want to be thinking about your target accounts from an account basis, not who do I have. If you're thinking about account-based marketing programs, and there's different ways, sometimes you use data to surface, based on intent or need or whatever, this account's ripe. Sometimes, and I've been in those discussions, it comes out of sales leadership or even the C-suite, is these are 3 accounts we want logos for on the website. How come they're not there? So, okay, great, add them. Now we got to go out and find, how to speak to them and get some current contacts. So we'll move on. So this is kind of the first interactive portion of the event here today. I think all of you should be able to throw something in the public side of the chat. Let me ask, who has the most up-to-date data on your prospects? So throw something in the chat. And so what I'm imagining is a lot of people are going to say, well, I've had really good luck with this data vendor, or that data vendor really gives me good technographic stuff. Right, so Nepal says Salesforce. See that again. Right, so there's a LinkedIn coming in. So yeah, maybe not a lot of, our favorite ZoomInfo. Cross-reference all data, great. So here's I'm going to kind of turn it on its head a little bit. So if you target BuzzBoard with account-based programs, and you've put BuzzBoard into your TAM because you really want us as a customer, and then you target BuzzBoard as an account on LinkedIn and do some account-based marketing through AdRoll, and then I see those ads, and you give me a great, compelling offer. I go to your website and I fill out a form. I say, David, VP Marketing at BuzzBoard, here's my email and phone number. You actually have the most up-to-date, not ZoomInfo, not LinkedIn. It's your database that is the most up-to-date and most accurate, more than you're going to get from any other contact vendor out there. So what I'm suggesting is another benefit of an account first model. And also notice, the account data changes less often, right? People move and they quit. It's like, I bought this record from such and such vendor and David's not there anymore. He's moved on to BuzzBoard. But the account data changes less frequently. So if you take an account-based first approach and you implement ABM heavy, ABM light, with great offers, you're driving people to your website and you're getting them to fill out a form, suddenly you have the absolute most up-to-date contact info from the person because you reached out to me. I saw an ad on LinkedIn. I want that white paper. I want that free trial offer. I fill out the form. I give you my info. You've got the most up-to-date data now. So if you, instead of turning, it's like, who am I going to get all this contact data from? And I get it from these guys. It's never accurate. It's always out of date. These guys are better. But if you think about it, targeting accounts and driving those folks into your own, whether your own CRM, your own marketing automation platform, you actually can have at a contact level the most up-to-date contact data for your business, which is really what you want. That's what everybody's searching for. Okay, thanks for participating in that. Let me get on to the next slide here. Okay, so how do I have it? Great. David, you sold me. I love it, right? Accounts. Okay, now what? So and again, it's also, like I said, it's propensity to buy and propensity not to buy. So take a good sample of your good fit accounts and your bad fit accounts. And then people say, good fit. I'm just going to go and give you a closed one. Everybody closed one must be a good fit. Yeah, but sometimes, sometimes we have closed loss deals that they were a perfect fit, but, the competitor was entrenched and they just kept underbidding us. We would still love to have that logo. Just because they lost doesn't make them a bad fit necessarily. So you have to look at the reason why they lost. So take a sample of your good fit accounts and then take a sample of your bad fit accounts. And it's not only closed loss. Some of those bad fits or some of those closed loss could actually be good fits. But when you want to look at your bad fit, it could be closed lost opportunities that were lost, lack of product fit, poor industry fit, poor technographic fit, whatever that you found out once you got in funnel. Or it could be accounts that you have in your TAM and, they never respond, right? Like, God, we've emailed so many emails to this account. Nobody's ever filled out a form or asked for a demo or anything. So it's really important to understand it's not just about closed won, closed lost, good fit, bad fit. So identify those sample accounts, and then you take a look at the entire signal set across, yes, technographics, yes, firmographics, but then also the suite of digital signals. And sure, yes, you can, and people do it. They build their ICP. Well, if they have revenue this much, employees this much, they're in our ICP, and they're in this industry. Great. And you can do a lot better if you extend beyond simple technographics and firmographics. If you start to look at other parameters, other signals, right? Like it could be, anytime I talk to somebody who has a PPP loan, right? They've got fresh money to spend on my product. So I want to know everybody has a PPP loan as an example. And, that extra signal PPP loan will be different for every business. So you identify that complete signal set. You want propensity to buy, propensity not to buy. And once you have a sense of that from the sample data, then you want to extend that whole signal set across your entire account list. And then you have an evaluation of all of your accounts. And then you can start to do that. Who's going to close fastest, fastest, easiest, quickest based on that evaluation. So we can dive in another way, kind of a visual way to look at this. So when we talk about technographics, firmographics, digital graphics, we're really talking about account intelligence. So we're not saying that you never do lead scoring. Absolutely do lead scoring for sure. But just reorient yourself towards accounts first. Who are the accounts that I need to target, whether or not I know who to speak to? Which accounts have the greatest propensity to buy? Which accounts have the least propensity to buy? And then I'm going to calculate what my TAM is based on that account first model. And then, we can score them. Once you have super strong signal set, you can start to segment on different parameters, right? Maybe I have a separate special message for SMBs that have a PPP loan. So I have a specific message and offer for those folks. So that's a segment. And maybe if they don't, then I have a different message. So we're going to identify our TAM. We're segment by whatever parameters make sense to us. Then we're going to score. We might score within segments. We might score everybody. But the whole point of scoring is very similar to lead scoring, right? We're just doing it at an account level. And the score is just a relative number. It ranges from negative infinity to positive infinity. And we do this here at BuzzBoard, and I've got reports for all our reps, and I see you run this report every morning. And if you don't know who to call, you start with the highest scoring account and then find out within that account who you should talk to. And if you're building out, right, you're going out chasing contacts. Okay, great. I've got 100 accounts on my CRM. For 60 of them, I know who my contacts are, who I need to talk to. For 40 of them, I don't. Of those 40 I don't, only 20 of them are really my TAM. So I'm just going to get contacts for those 20, and I'm not going to go out and try to track down contacts for the 20 that are the lowest scoring, because they have the lowest propensity to buy. I'm not going to invest energy. I'm not going to try to source them. I'm not going to invest resources in that. I'm just going to focus on the ones, focus on finding contacts, however I do that, for accounts that have the greatest propensity to buy, and I'm not going to spend resources on those with the lowest propensity to buy. Okay, so then the next thing is how to build a fit score formula. So just to kind of recap, figure out, 100 is a good round number. We work with that a lot. We can take more. More data is always better. We can work with less, but 100 good fit, 100 bad fit accounts, whatever those look like. Then enrich those accounts with all the different data that you care about. So yes, employee size, right? Yes, revenue size, geographic location, all kind of firmographic stuff. Yes, technographic. Do they use Zoho? Do they use Sugar? Do they use Salesforce? Do they use NetSuite? Whatever that is. Plus all those other signals that are out there in the world, right? All these businesses are leaving digital footprints somewhere. How much do they spend on Facebook ads? Do they have a shopping cart on their website? So enrich those accounts with a set of signals that look, feel, or otherwise seem to indicate they're relevant. And then identify the signals that most strongly correlate to good and bad fit accounts. And we're going to step through that in a bit more detail now. So I was at a customer site not that long ago, and they're like, wow, we really want to be data driven. We really want to stop the, I've got a feeling, or I've got a notion, right? We really got to stop this individual subjective, I've got a feeling that these are the right accounts. We really want to switch to data driven. We really want, unbiased identification of accounts we will go after. So if you do a good identification of your good fit and bad fit accounts, and you do a best effort identification of what are the signals, and then you let technology, AI and ML, actually go through it, surface signal sets, what the rankings are, confirm what you think, then you end up with a real data-driven approach, rather than a rep saying, gosh, this one really looks like so-and-so, so I think they're probably a good fit. You really get more efficient. And again, this is what it's about. It's about efficiency in your go-to-market, right? How do we close deals the fastest and with the most urgency, right, to meet our goals? Once you have that signal set, then you take that and go across all accounts in your CRM. You've got your signal set. You've got an idea what your ICP is for the signal set. You extend that to all the accounts in your CRM. And now you can give them that relative rank order score to prioritize. And again, it's just a score. It's all it means is 11 is better than 10. -2 is better than -3. From negative infinity to positive infinity. It's just a simple rank order. And it's all about prioritization. It's not that somebody with a lower score will never necessarily close, but it's all about allocation of resources. We all wrestle with finite resources, right? I only have this much budget for Google AdWords. I only have that much budget for my tech stack, whatever it is. I've only got this many SDRs. And, we often see folks, it's like, I've got 10 SDRs and I just have more leads coming in day to day that they can service, or I've got more records in my database that they could promptly service. I really want them to focus on the ones that'll close the fastest and the mostest. So that's why you do this rank order, just the same way that we always did lead scoring. We do it at an account level. And then, you can slice that list into quartiles or deciles based on their score, and then allocate resources accordingly. So you might say the top decile of score gets the most ABM love. I'm going to create that follows microsite for them. I'm going to spend money targeting them on LinkedIn and AdRoll. I'm going to have somebody from my C-suite reach out to them on LinkedIn with an invitation. And you might say in that lowest quartile, they'll get some email marketing, and that's the extent of it. But I'm not really going to invest too much of my ABM resources into that lowest quartile. If you want to go to deciles, you can do deciles, whatever. The point being, you are able to score them and then break them up and create some kind of tier of propensity to buy, and then allocate resources accordingly.
Hey, David. So, and this is in line with one of our attendees' questions here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to a little bit about like where people can source some of the data? Like I know BuzzBoard provides data yourself, right, based on what you said earlier. But are there other sources that people can turn to in order to get data that they can use for personalization purposes, as well as to build this fit score formula that you're speaking to?
Sure. So just recap, we think we're the best source for data on small to mid-sized businesses. There are other folks out there. I mean, all the usual folks out there that do, some do SMB to one degree or another. Others do, large stuff, right? There's the Zoom Infos out there. There's the Sixth Sense. There's the Clearbits. Nicole, you were at Dun & Bradstreet, I think, right?
Yeah.
Right. So they're out there, So all those kinds of the usual suspects for sure. And then I come back to your own database. Are you using progressive profiling on your forms, right? Pretty much every marketing automation platform does that. Are you able to start to build your own extensive custom proprietary database that David registers for a form first time, and then you do a follow-up and you say, here's another great asset, David, you should read. David comes back, and this time the form is a little bit different. And this is something that always drove me crazy from a demand gen side. If I already have Nicole's email and I'm sending him to his email a marketing cadence that invites him to fill out a form, why am I asking him to fill out his name and his phone number again and his company? I already know that. Let's ask him for something new, right? Let's ask him to fill out a different field, like how many SDRs do you have? How many records do you have in your CRM? What ERP do you use? So if you're not using progressive profiling to build out sort of at the lead level and account level, I know this much. And then I also know they use NetSuite, right? They use Zoho for their CRM. They use Pardot, or they use Eloqua, or whatever the parameters are that are important for your signal set. And granted, yes, it can take some time to build that up, but your own data, I come back to what I said before, your own CRM and marketing automation platform can actually be your very best source of data for any of those questions. Because once they fill out the form, your database is more up to date than anything you can get from anybody else. But it goes back to, you have to know what you're looking for, right? You have to have a sense from an ICP, what signals are meaningful to me for propensity to buy, and what signals tell me they're never going to buy.
So just kind of a quick follow-up on that, and let me know if you're going to cover this shortly. But Bernardo from the audience asked, what are the best metrics for determining whether someone has high propensity or low propensity to buy?
If I don't speak to that in the next couple slides, please bring it back. Yeah. So I think I do come up with.
Perfect.
The short answer is it really depends on your business, right? I mean, I just keep going. A payday loan, a PPP loan, because that's, we got COVID and that's been high profile. It could be for your business, particularly if you're selling to small businesses. It could be that if they have a PPP loan for your business, that every time I talk to them, they close because they're flush with money. It could be something else. It really depends on your business. So let me advance the slides, and I'll give you some kind of specific examples and show you how to figure that out. It's a little bit recap of what I've already been speaking to, but it also kind of puts in a visual mode. So identify your good fit records. Remember, good fit is not just closed won opportunities. It could be closed loss that, like, the only reason we lost this is because the entrenched competitor underbid me on price. And then bad fit records. And again, that's not just all my closed lost opportunities must be a bad fit. No, it's like we thought education was a sector, and we chased a bunch of accounts in education. And they never close, they never progress. So that's a bad fit, right? So be really thoughtful about what good fit and bad fit is. And then this notion, right, of enriching, whether you do that from an external vendor or you're able to accumulate a bunch of data in your own CRM and marketing automation system, that you have a good sense of a good sense of the different parameters that could indicate good or bad fit. And then we have, firmographics, digitographics, technographics. You can get into things like every time I sell to somebody who has 20 Yelp reviews, they close. If they have no Yelp present, they never close. Social engagement, the Twitter presence, how many tweets, a Facebook presence, all that sort of stuff. Do they have a local listing? Are they on Nextdoor, right? All these different things are all possible signals. Again, it really depends on your business. So you take those good fit, bad fit records, enrich them, run across to identify the greatest correlation. Again, we're taking out the human element. I really think if they have Yelp reviews, they're a good candidate. Use technology, AI and machine learning, to run across those samples, and then you have a good sense of your ICP, and you're developing a score, right? So highest score essentially is your greatest propensity to buy. That's in your ICP. Lowest score looks like that doesn't fit. And I think this slide is really what's going to bring it home. So, in our heads, right, long-time marketing wisdom, we can only hold like 3 things in our head at one time, maybe 4 if we're lucky, right? So it's the rule of 3s in all marketing messaging. So with AI and ML, you can expand beyond 3 to like hundreds. But typically, what we see is, we'll look at about 100 signals that are likely. And then we can distill it down to maybe there's 10 or 12 signals that are really indicatory of where people land, or propensity. And so in this example, and this is drawing on a real world customer, we've anonymized it. So wow, anytime they have domain age is a strong indicator. The older their website domain, the greater propensity to buy. So that gets strong weighting in the signal. And then, the higher the average rating on a review site, the greater propensity to buy, the greater correlation to my good fit accounts. And then in this one is simple revenue size, right? Yep, the more money they have in revenue, the more money they have to spend with us. Are they running any Facebook ads, Google ads? They claim they're Google My Business. Do they have a Twitter page? So it's through this, AI, ML analysis of your good fit, bad fit accounts against what you think are the most relevant signals likely to be indicative, that you end up with a scoring model, right? So from this, I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parameters are what I care about in my scoring model. And I'm going to give the most weight to domain age. Everybody gets a weighting, but maybe domain age gets, 80% of the contribution towards fit score, and average rating gets 5%, and revenue size gets 3, and on down. So with that, Nicole, do you think that's responded? It was Bernard, I think, right? Do you think that's responsive to his question?
Yeah, I think so. I think what you're saying is basically you're employing machine learning to figure out what attributes are most predictive, right, in terms of whether someone converts or not. And you can't just eyeball that, right? You need machine learning to do that because there's so many different signals to be able to kind of go through here. So are these are the signals that basically, like, again, BuzzBoard provides, as well as data that you provide through your internal database, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you'll hear us talk about signals. So think about a row of data, like in an Excel spreadsheet, and the first column is the company name, the second column is the website URL, and then there are like some 6,000 other columns that have some different thing, like they spend $1,000 a month on Google, and they had to pay a PPP loan, and they have 50 reviews on Yelp. So then from that, you can identify some number analyzing all 6,000 signals, probably not worth it. 100 or so different signals to try to arrive at this 8 signal set. From all those different columns in the spreadsheet, which it's a data point, is what we call a signal, then you can use technology to distill it to, we think these 8 columns in the spreadsheet are the most indicative of propensity to buy and propensity not to buy. And then again, that gets to, this customer visit I had recently is we really want the reps out of the I've got a feeling mode. I feel like we really, we're committed to data-driven. We believe in technology. We believe in what data-driven promises and offers. So how do we actually implement data-driven?
And so in your experience, have you found that the internal signals, like the signals from your database, people filling out forms, people employing researchers to getting proprietary data about the market, are those generally the most predictive or the best metrics, as it were? Is that kind of been your experience in working with customers?
It's usually a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, you definitely need, kind of some kind of the firmographic stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, in the Valley here, we have all kinds of startups, which are like 3 people, right? And a website. If they don't have money, it doesn't matter how great my product is, they're not going to buy it. So it's usually a mix of all of those. Where I think where you get the nudge, the directional improvement in efficacy is when you start to get into those signals beyond technographic and firmographic. How much revenue do they have? How many employees do they have? Are they in the right geography? Are they in the right industry? You really get those incremental improvements in efficiency and success when you, whatever the source, right? When you get into the more and more specific parameters, like hypothetical. We have an offering that's that services business in the 5G space, right? There's all kinds of companies that make 5G technology. And we find that anytime somebody is a member of the 5G Telecom Association of North America, they tend to buy or be responsive to us. So how do I have that data? Well, I might find a vendor that tracks it and I buy it and append it and enrich all my records. Or maybe in my progressive forums, every time somebody comes to the website, I ask them, right, after the second visit or the third visit, are you a member of this association? And when they say yes, you've just collected data that nobody else has, and it's proprietary to you, and then that feeds your scoring model.
Right. Totally makes sense. Now, this is great data for coming up with the score, right? To be able to kind of bubble up and surface accounts that, make sense investing in, right? How what's the next step beyond that, just in terms of like, if an SDR then says, okay, here are the top accounts that I need to break into, how do they use this data to like do the personalization?
Sure. Yeah. So there's kind of 2 questions there. I'm going to skip ahead one slide and come back. So how to use it, create reports. This is what I referenced earlier. And, I just kind of quickly for this deck, I just hodgepodge mocked up a report. So within BuzzBoard and our clients, we create reports. And I've done this for all my reps. And I give each of my reps their own Salesforce report that they go to. Everybody has an account, right? Pretty much, every account is always owned by everybody in Salesforce. The way we do it here is accounts that are like, just in, this is probably a target, but we need to enrich it, is owned, by the marketing team in my name. But then anything that's ready, sales ready, we assign it and the account ownership changes. So then I create all these reports for them and sort it on Fit Score. So this could be my rep Jane, who Acme, she owns Acme, she owns John Doe Limited, she owns Jane Doe Limited. She also owns this out of ICP Inc. company. She runs these reports and we calculate our Fit Score in Salesforce itself. So in theory, every morning she's running this report, and based on the Fit Score that's updated, and it updates in real time, Acme Corp has bubbled to the top of my list today. I'm going to call them or email them first and foremost today. After I talk to Acme and do whatever I need there, then I'm going to move on to John Doe Limited, and then I'm going to move on to Jane Doe Limited. And this out of ICP that score of minus 400 tells me don't even waste my time. And I might even say, if they don't score 50 or above, or if they don't score 100 or above, I'm going to let that mature. I'm going to let that score rise because we gather new data that we don't have prior. And then when we finally get that data, they finally fill out that progressive profiling form, which tells us that they're in the 5G association. Then, once I know that, then I'll invest my energy there. So, and the score runs to whatever it needs to be, right? There's no good or bad score. It's just relative. A score of 120 is better than a score of 115. So I'm just prioritizing all my outreach based on this. And then from a demand gen or marketing ops background, I might say anybody who scores 101 or above, I give them the most ABM love. They get everything. I pull up all the stops in my ABM program. Anybody who scores 51 to 100, they get 75% of the resource allocation that the top tier gets. And then you could quartiles, deciles, however you want to slice it.
Awesome. It's all about prioritizing, right? This is great for not just figuring out who to target, but also how much work you're going to put into it.
Well, again, let's bring it back to what really matters here. Why do we want to prioritize? Most of us have more contacts or more accounts, either net new leads or we've got a huge database, then we can service. You take one SDR, how many calls can they make in a day? How many emails can they make in a day? Are they done in 2 hours of their workday because they've talked to everybody they could talk to? No, probably not. It's more the other cases. I've got more, and we have our customers, our prospects, they tell us is we have more records in our CRM than we know what to do with. Help us prioritize. Well, why is that important? Well, because we want to close more revenue sooner, faster, because we're on like a quarterly timeline, right? We got to produce. So that's really what it's all about. You score them to prioritize and set urgency for the folks ready to close fastest and mostest, soonest to meet your goals. And then the other thing is, sometimes we need to tweak it. Nothing's carved in stone. There's a feedback loop and I get this, David, you scored on this, and that's not really such a great indicator. Let's retweak it. Or every time I have this shows up, it's the wrong indicator. You get to go and reevaluate that and change it. And it doesn't mean you don't market, right? It could be if you divide into quartiles, it could be that your third quartile is, I'm just going to do email marketing. I'm not going to launch LinkedIn ads for them. I'm not going to put them into my ad roll ABM program. I'm going to do email marketing. And, sometimes we get bluebirds that alight from that. But at least it's a way to handle the, where do I start question.
Awesome. This is great. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we kind of wrap up with key takeaways? Well,
I see. Wow, we really went a long time. I won't go in detail on the slide. I'll just invite people if they really want to see it. So I went back. This is an early version of our own Fit Score in Salesforce. And the real takeaway of this here is, in Salesforce, you can set up a formula right on your account object and calculate that Fit Score that gets updated all the time. And there's a way to quantify anything. For example, we have some stuff in here about G2. So if they visit us on G2, then we take a look at their, what G2 URL did they visit, when did they visit, and then we actually quantify that and drive that into a score. And I'd be happy to talk with folks about how to build that sort of formula and what it looks like.
Right. That and it looked, by the looks of it, it was like you were combining, kind of the firmographic, technographic, as well as the behavioral, like the G2 visits, for example, all into one score. Imagine makes things a lot easier, right, for sales reps to be able to parse, as well as marketers to be able to parse.
Yeah, and it's the print's fine, but we even folded in, do we know that they sell to small to mid-sized business, right? That's the data we have.
Right.
So if we declaratively know, then we say 100 points, they sell to small mid-sized business, so that's their score. And then if it's like, well, it's not so cut and dried from their website or the information we know, but it sure looks like it, then we apply a confidence level of 75%. So instead of 100 points, they get 75. Right. And so on. So you get to do that sort of thing. But the point is, it is all quantifiable. And you know, if you want to talk to BuzzBoard, you want us just to give you a number, we can calculate those scores. If you want to pull in stuff from all different sources and come up with a formula in Salesforce, you know, Salesforce supports that. It's eminently doable.
Awesome. So I know we're coming up on the bottom of the hour here. We've been answering questions as we go along. There are questions we haven't answered yet, and we'll certainly get back to you separately. But just to kind of wrap up, David, if you had kind of a tweetable, everything is in, because Twitter is always in the news now. It's like, hey, do you have a tweetable moment? You know, would love to hear kind of your takeaways. If there's one thing for the audience to kind of leave with, you had a lot of great insights and frameworks here, but if you wanted to just boil it down to kind of like the most important thing that the audience should remember, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's really turning things on its head from, you know, bulk brute force contacts to, I'm going to just be a bit more judicious and thoughtful about who the accounts are that I want, the logos that I want on my website, and really understanding of those accounts, who is bestest, fastest, mostest ready to buy and who's least, and then allocate resources accordingly.
Awesome. Great summary there of kind of the account first notion that you were talking about. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining. And Roxy, I'll turn it over to you for the outro.
Hello. That was a great session. Thank you so much for all of that information. Really appreciate it. So I'm going to wrap things up real quick. But first, just want to thank everyone so much for attending. We really love to have you all today. Thank you for our wonderful sponsor, BuzzBoard. Especially thank you, David. Today, we really appreciate you. Make sure you guys all check out BuzzBoard's website when you get a chance. And they're also available in the booth if you want to go ahead and hit them up there. And David and Napul, thank you so much for providing this great content. Y'all are amazing. We really appreciate you. The recordings and key takeaways will be available on our site shortly. And don't forget to check out our upcoming events. And everybody stay safe out there. Keep doing what you're doing. And we hope to see you guys in the future.
Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.